Hello everybody! Welcome back to another Reactor Microsoft stream. My name is Sarah Guthals, if you haven't seen me on the streams before. And I am hoping for good bandwidth today. Yesterday it was pretty bad, so I'm hoping for some better bandwidth today. To be safe though, I'm going to be turning off my camera here in about a second / now. Sorry, I was going to, I didn't have that screen there to turn it off. That's okay. I will just go straight into my full screen to turn it off. It's great to see you all again today. I will be monitoring the chat, so if you want to ask me any questions, feel free to hop in there. This video is being recorded and will be up on YouTube later this week, towards Friday. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Azure ML, and if you haven't played around with it, specifically the Azure ML SDK, so Azure Machine Learning SDK, and I'm specifically going to focus on for Python. So hello everybody. Oh, interesting. The audio seems quieter now that the camera's cut off. It should be the exact same mic regardless, but I can bring it closer to me. Hopefully that'll get a little bit louder. I also have a fan going, I'm sorry, so hopefully the white noise isn't too much for you. Okay, so I can't turn it up anymore, but I have moved it closer to me, so hopefully you can hear me better now. So the Azure Machine Learning SDK for Python, what is this? If you have heard about Azure Machine Learning, basically it is this service that allows you to use Azure to create a to basically run machine learning experiments. And there's some really great resources about it online. Azure Machine Learning services in particular are ways that you can integrate Azure Machine Learning into code that you're writing. So we do have a no-code option that's like a drag-and-drop machine learning designer that's within the machine learning resource that I'll show you in just a minute. We also have the SDK for Python, which is the one we're going to focus on today, which you would often use inside of Jupyter Notebooks. There is a whole repo of example notebooks that you can access right here. And all of these example notebooks, there's just a bunch of different things. There's tutorials, there's how to set up your environment. They do different things on regression, classification, creating your first experiment, etc. Here is information for how to set up your environment right here. And essentially it walks you through a lot of the examples to explore how to train, package, validate, deploy, and monitor machine learning models that you might be creating on your data. So I highly recommend spending a little bit of time exploring these tutorials and playing around with these data sets. There's also an SDK for R, which I have not explored yet, but when I asked on Twitter a couple weeks ago what people might be interested in, R came up, and I know that it is still often used with folks who are more into the data science side and less into the machine learning side. And so that's something that I want to start exploring in the future. I'm curious if you're interested in that as well. One of the biggest benefits for me of using the Azure Machine Learning SDK and focusing on the Azure Machine Learning is that there is a really great Visual Studio Code extension. And this brings in not only a connection to Azure, so you can authenticate through Azure through all of this, but also it allows you to see different parts of your machine learning model from right inside of your IDE. So as someone who myself prefers to live in the world of a code editor rather than a browser, I do really enjoy having the access from right inside of my browser. I'm going to take off this overlay so that you can see things a little bit better. So for this stream, I will be using Visual Studio Code, and I do already have the extensions installed that need to be installed. So let me just show you the ones that I have installed here. Oh, sorry. I was meaning to show you the browser. I forgot when I swapped over. But I already have the extensions installed that we need. So it is the, oh, looks like I need to reload this real quick. Let's see if that'll be quick. So I have the Azure account installed here. This allows me, like I said, to log into Azure so that I don't have to worry about authentication or anything like that. I have the Azure Machine Learning extension here. These are all ones built by Microsoft. And I also have the Python extension here, also the one offered by Microsoft. The other ones you don't need for this particular stream, but the Azure Machine Learning, Azure Account, and Python extensions will be useful. I'll go ahead and plop the links for those, in the stream as well. So the Visual Studio Code Azure Account extension. This is just how I always find things, all of the things. So here is the Azure Account extension. And then there's also, if you head back over to this one, we can go to the, here's the machine learning one right here. And we can also grab Python. That's not the one. Visual Studio Code Python extension. Here we go. This is the one we're looking for. Perfect. So those are the 3 extensions that I have installed. And I went through the Visual Studio Code Python kind of setup instructions here. There's these ones that walk you through getting your Jupyter Notebook set up as well. So if you haven't done this yet, I highly recommend it. Basically, it allows you to have Jupyter Notebooks from right inside of Visual Studio Code. It allows you to create your own Python kernel. It'll execute everything, and it's really easy to do. All you have to do is create, once you have it installed, all you have to do is create a file that ends in IPYNB, and it'll create the notebook for you. And this is what we'll be working in today. So you can see it's very similar style to Jupyter Notebooks that you might have seen if you've been using them from the Jupyter Notebooks software. But again, I kind of just like living in the world of VS Code. It's my favorite. This data science tutorial is also useful for getting things set up. It links to all of the things and helps you choose the right interpreter and making sure that your kernel is set to the right Python. In this case, they use the Anaconda environment, or they create an Anaconda environment to make things simple. So why Azure Machine Learning? Azure Machine Learning offers you, like I said, the no-code designer experience, Jupyter Notebook experience with the SDK for Python, the SDK for R, if you want to get into that. It offers you the Visual Studio Code extension, which we'll explore in a minute. There's also a CLI, which I don't have very much experience with yet. And there's a bunch of open source frameworks that are already like available to you when you're using Azure ML. And I haven't done the reinforcement learning yet, so that's something new for me. It allows you to build machine learning models in Python or in R. It allows you to do all of this on the cloud. What I really love about the SDK in particular is that I can explore it and I can do it locally, but have it connected to my actual cloud environment. So I don't need to have a powerful machine. I could even be running this in Visual Studio Code, in Visual Studio Code spaces in the browser. And as I'll show you in just a minute, within the Azure Machine Learning resource, you can also do all of your Jupyter Notebooks from inside of there also. So it just kind of allows you to, wherever you feel comfortable writing code, it allows you to do that. And specifically the SDK for Python, this one, I think I linked to it already, but I'm going to do it again since I'm talking about it now. This really allows you to pretty much touch every single part of your machine learning lifecycle. So it's the data sets. You can have a data set that's local to you, and you can upload it to the cloud. You can have one that already exists in your machine learning resource, et cetera, et cetera. It allows you to manage all of your cloud resources. Again, we'll kind of take a look at that in just a minute. Training your models, you can do that locally or with cloud resources. Today, we're going to do a bit of Automl. And so we are going to jump into having our models be trained in our machine learning resource on Azure. So then that way we can train it using a bunch of different machine learning algorithms. As the next bullet says, does some AutoML. So we'll talk a little bit about those. Basically, you can configure parameters ahead of time, but also it goes through a bunch of the different algorithms for your type of experiment that you're doing, and it does all the hyperparameter settings. So we'll look at that. There's this really great tutorial here that you can check out as well. All right. So, oh, and in addition to this, if you are new to Azure Machine Learning, I recommend checking this link out. Also, this is the Introduction to Machine Learning module on Microsoft Learn. It, oh, not 8 minutes total, 8 minutes remaining. I've done almost all the units, but it just kind of walks you through getting things set up and what all of the things are and just kind of introducing you to them all. So you can check that out. And that's part of the larger AI solutions with Azure Machine Learning path, if that's of interest to you. It goes into training machine learning models, working with data, compute contexts, pipelines, deploying your model, and then deploying batch inference pipelines. I kept wanting to say interface. Tuning hyperparameters. I mean, there's just like a ton you can see. So this learning path, if this is of interest to you, is something that you might want to check out. So without further ado, if you want to follow along, all I have done so far is done all of those putting in of the, no, I don't need that one. All I've done so far is installed all of the extensions that I need and downloaded or installed the SDK. So, and then I've created this blank file. The links above or in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube, or in the chat window if you're watching live on Twitch right now, you can see all of those. And before we can get started any further, what we need to do is create an Azure Machine Learning resource. So I'm going to head over to my Azure portal. This is at portal.azure.com. And I'm going to create a new resource. I have a pay-as-you-go account, nothing special about it. And I'm going to search for machine learning. Click on create. I'm going to create a new resource group for this so that I can delete it after this stream, August 18 stream. Let's just name this August 18, and I'll change this to West US where I'm at. And we can just do a basic. I did a video series a while back where we used the Enterprise Edition, and really we needed to use that because we wanted to have access to the time series forecast features that weren't available in Basic yet. I just need to do Basic for today though, because we're going to do I think we're going to do classification today. So we'll just go ahead and create this. This should only take a couple of seconds, really. This basically will create all of the resources that you would need to do machine learning experiments. And so as you can see over here, we're creating storage accounts, we're creating insight components, we're creating key vaults. I think that's for the authentication. I can't remember. But you'll see that a bunch of different resources get created here. And again, that's one benefit of using Azure Machine Learning, because it allows you to do everything that you want to do in the cloud. And by using this one service, it allows you to just create everything all with just one click, essentially. Well, it was a couple of clicks, as you just saw. But you get to just kind of create everything that you might need. And in addition to this, it's going to create this view of all of those resources that makes sense for the types of experiments that we might want to do. So our deployment is complete. We can go to the resource now, and this is going to open up this resource here. And advanced automated machine learning. I don't think we need to do this. Now I'm curious. Maybe let's upgrade just in case. I can't remember now. Okay, so I did just upgrade to Enterprise. I'm not sure if anything changed. I hadn't seen that notice before, so I'm not sure if something has changed since the last time I did this. But let's just be on the safe side for right now because this is just a very simple one. If you are following along and you want to try doing the basic edition, that should be fine. But I haven't, that was new to me just now, so I haven't had a chance to fully explore. So now we can open up the Azure Machine Learning Studio. And you don't technically need to do this if you are going to do everything in VS Code. But I want to show you some things that are available on the studio, because then we'll also be able to see some of the different features that we could see both inside of Visual Studio, and we can see it both on the cloud as well. So let's go ahead and let that open up. All right. And while we're doing that, I am also making sure that I'm signed into Visual Studio Code. So I just, all I did right there was I clicked on, and I'll show you real quick. So I clicked on my Azure extension here, and that prompted a sign in. It just said, you're not signed in, click here. When I clicked it, it opened up that browser window that you just saw. By doing this, though, I can see right away that under my pay-as-you-go subscription, I can see the August 18th machine learning resource. And in here, you can see all of the things that we may or may not have. So we don't actually have any data sets yet, so that's going to be empty. We don't actually have any experiments yet. Anyways, all of these are going to be empty right now. But as you can see right away with this extension, we can already start to see all of the different pieces of Azure Machine Learning. And the neat thing is that if we open up the browser, we can see those exact same things here. So here's the data sets that are empty, for example, if it wants to load. Awesome. Again, you can create a data set from inside of the Azure Machine Learning resource and then access it from inside of Visual Studio Code. So you can create the data set here from open data sets. That was a weird intonation. From open data sets, web files, a data store, or from local files. There's also this GitHub repo. Again, this is the Azure Machine Learning notebooks that I pointed to before. This one specifically is the page that talks about data sets. Yes, I thought that basic gave you some basic AutoML, but I may be wrong now, and I can't remember. Yes, I just didn't. I don't want to go through the docs at this moment, but thank you, Wayne B. Thompson. That's why I decided to upgrade to Enterprise, just in case, because I do want to use AutoML today, and I couldn't remember if it was all AutoML is only available in Enterprise or just some. So just in case. All AutoML features. Again, you can see AutoML is in here. So once we have data and once we have stuff, we can play with it inside of the browser, but that's not what we're here to do. We're not doing a no-code one. We're doing the SDK one. So we'll just kind of come back to this at a later time. And like I mentioned, you can do this in Visual Studio Code, but you can also create notebooks from right inside of here, and they can be notebooks or text files. All right, so let's close out this browser now, and let's get this window over here so I can see it. So the first thing that we're going to do, sorry, I'm trying to organize all of my screens here. I do not have multiple screens, so I just have to like move windows around. It's quite the Tetris game. So the first thing that we're going to do essentially is where did, here we go, is we're going to connect to our Azure Machine Learning workspace that we just created so that we can start to do different things. So you can actually create a works or like the resource group and the workspace from inside of like a notebook or inside of a CLI, but I just wanted to do it all from there. So let me grab the first thing that we want to do is make sure that our Azure ML SDK is actually installed. So we're going to import azureml.core so that this notebook is aware of it. And just to make sure that it's the one that we want, we're going to print out the version. If you haven't done this before, this is just a bit of Python code, and then you click on this arrow to run it. So ideally, this is installed. I don't think I need to install you. This is new also. I don't ever remember installing you. Something seems off. This was working just a minute ago. What's going on? Python error. It did do like a refresh. Did that refresh mess me up? I wonder if, oh, you know what? Let me, sorry. VS Code. So I'm just making sure that my kernel is set to the same. Jupyter was definitely installed. Now I'm confused what's happening. I know that, remember when I clicked open the extensions, it, was this from before? When I open the extensions, oh gosh, now what's going on? Oh, Lord. I want them to be matching. Let me just do my local one and change that one as well. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to try, yes, Azure ML leverage, sorry. Yes, I might try reloading VS Code. Let me just see if changing them works, and then if not, I might reload. Oh, wonderful. That's okay. I can show you that now. Azure ML SDK. Yes. No, they were both on 3.8. I think I had an Anaconda environment set up, and then it like wonked out. I think what happened was it was accidentally pointing to my Anaconda environment, and I didn't actually want it to. but now I'm wondering if that's where my Azure ML SDK was. It's been hot, everyone. Not that that's really an excuse, but let's see if this wants to work. So I'm going to try to just install the Azure ML SDK now that I'm in my local Python environment, and then we'll see if that works. Yes, you know, I think Visual Studio Code offers a lot, and we're making a ton of improvements on it. I've been talking to the teams who do all of these pieces together, and there are some really amazing things like having your Azure ML, you know, information just right in here inside of the browser, and being able to run Visual Studio, Jupyter Notebooks from inside of VS Code. But there are definitely some bits where if you don't do it in the right order, you can get in this weird situation. So you have to kind of be a little bit careful at the beginning, but we are making it more and more robust as we go. And 64 grass blocks, you asked if Azure ML leverages cloud computing, and if it does, how does it compare to Google or Amazon? Yes, so everything that we're going to do is actually run in the cloud. It's going to be run in Azure, which allows me to not have to have a powerful machine to actually run, you know, train the models and all of that, but instead just it all runs kind of in the cloud. How does it compare to Google or Amazon? I don't exactly know the answer to that question. If anyone else has experimented with multiple of them, let me know. What I do know and what I like about Azure ML, and let me go ahead and show my browser. What I like about Azure ML is that it offers, like I was saying, a lot of different experiences, all within the same ecosystem. So whether I am inside of Azure ML in the browser and I'm opening up a notebook here and I want to run things inside of the browser, or I want to install the SDK and the extension inside of VS Code, or I want to use VS Code Spaces, which is basically VS Code in the browser. It's all connected. It's all talking to the same service, and it's all doing the same thing. So I really appreciate that aspect of it. I have not done a comparison on them, though. Oh, Intellisense and Autocomplete. Yeah. Sometimes that's really helpful and sometimes not. So I'm not sure why this is taking, let me see if it has the output. Nope. Oh, here we go. Yay. Thank you. Okay, so that seemed to work. Let me just check. You're still not finding you. All right, so now I might try. It looks like it did install. Sorry, let me close my browser so you can see. I'm just trying to make sure there weren't any errors here. It doesn't look like there were any errors, but I do think I might have to restart now that I do have that. So, because it still says, I ran it again and it still says, okay, so I'm going to show my browser and close this out so that I can restart it. And open up my Jupyter Notebook file again. And let me just make sure that this is all right. So I think, nope. Let me add in a new window capture. Oh, goodbye VS Code. It just totally closed. I'm not sure why I did that. All right. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, I'm going to try to do this in the terminal instead. Oh, I just realized I needed to switch over into... It's so funny, like I can do this every day and then it's all off. That's awesome. So you're getting started with this stuff with healthcare data. We just recently if you're doing some healthcare data stuff, let me pull up this. So this is our Reactors GitHub repo. And if you want, you can head over into data science and machine learning here. And in here, I've got some machine learning with genomics, which maybe is not the type of healthcare that you're interested in. But there's some Jupyter notebooks in there. And I think that's the one that I did on healthcare. And then there's also on YouTube, on our Microsoft Reactor channel, we have some videos where I did do some healthcare related things. By the way, in the background, I am trying to install it in the terminal because it seems to have not recognized it. So I'm not just, I'm stalling, but not doing something. So over here, we did have some, let me find genomics. Here we go. Actually, I don't think that's, I can't remember. This might be the one, but there's some information there. Machine. A while back, we did some other ones related to machine learning. Well, in any case, there's some videos on there as well. And then I believe inside of the machine learning notebooks one, there's also some other ones around healthcare, but I can't remember now which ones they are. Okay, so what is wrong with you? So now I'm getting another error. Could not find a version that satisfies the requirement for that. Do I want to switch to Python 3.7? Let me try going back to my 3.7 Anaconda environment instead. Let me see if that works. Switch into my other kernel. It'd be very difficult to compare the three due to the implementation of technology. Yeah. I think if you're like interested in comparing between Google and Amazon and Microsoft or Azure, Azure, AWS, and GCP, one way that you could do that is, or like I would recommend thinking about, there we go. Okay, it's working now. Sorry, let me, there we go. Okay. One way that I would recommend doing that is actually think about the problem that you're trying to solve, and not just the problem that you're trying to solve, but also the types of access to resources that you would need or anyone on your team would need, and what kind of visualization that they might have. So for example, if I was working with a team of a lot of non-developers, then I might want something like the Azure Machine Learning Studio that I'm showing you now, which gives me access to being able to run experiments and create pipelines and do a full-on just kind of designer with little to no code at all within this browser. And then be able to have like the developers, take something and tweak it a little bit or something like that. But that might be more important to me, and I'm not sure how much GCP and AWS offer all of these. So while it's not just about the underlying technology or how good their machine learning models are or how efficient their cloud is, those are all also important. But it's also kind of what's the composition of your team, what goals are you trying to accomplish. You can start to look at cost, you can start to look at uptime, like all of that kind of thing as well. So I'd recommend that. Cool. Okay. So we've got this working now. Sorry about that. I was like, this has been working. So I've got Azure ML. We're on version 1.10. So we're good there. Now, basically what we need to do is connect up to our workspace. So one way of doing this that's relatively easy, again, why I like to create my machine learning resource inside of the browser, and I gotta show my browser again, is you can just head over here and you can download your config.json file. All right, and then I can go ahead and show this in the folder and just bring it over here, and let me just rename it to that. This basically just has my subscription ID, my resource group, and my workspace name. That's all it is. You could have created that on your own too. Oh, sorry, you're not able to see that. It just has all of these things. You could have created that on your own. You didn't need to download the file. If you had some other specific things, you know, it might get more complicated, but you could have created that on your own. All you would need to have is your subscription ID, your resource group name, and your workspace name. Where did you go, workspace name? Oh, perfect. So now that we have access to our config file, what we want to do is we want to create our workspace or create a variable that's like connecting to our workspace. And so the way that we can do that is essentially import our workspace and sorry, let me pull up my Azure ML SDK Python. What I meant to pull up was, oops, that's not what I wanted. Here you go. What I meant to pull up was this. So on here you can see all of, like, this is the high level overview of the entire SDK, and what you can see here is to create a workspace. All you have to do is say workspace.create and put in the workspace name, like I said, the subscription ID, the resource group, the location, all of that. That's if you want to create one. You can write to the config file, or you can grab from the config file and then you set in the path and link to the other workspace, which is exactly what we're going to do. We already have a workspace. It's this one over here. And so we don't need to create ours. We just need to grab from it. So we're going to do this. And I'm going to call this workspace, not other workspace. And we're going to call workspace from config, and the path is just config.json. All right. I'm curious. So that opens up an authentication. So even if you were trying to copy my subscription key, you'd need to authenticate with me or as me, which you can't. But I will also delete my subscription key. Important thing to note, or sorry, not important thing to note. I'm curious. Do y'all say Jason or JSON? JSON or Jason? Kind of like the name. I kind of just say Jason. I'm kind of lazy though. So I authenticated. So I ran this cell here. All it did was import workspace, and from the config file, which is right here, here's the path to it. It's in the same folder. I'm going to read everything and create that workspace. If you wanted to, you could have totally like created words. If you wanted to, you could have done this, right? Workspace.get, and then just put in the workspace and the subscription ID and the resource group. And again, you can get all of that information from right here. So if you didn't want to download the config file, I mean, it's a tiny config file, you could have done that instead. So whatever you prefer. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to JSON. JSON. Yeah, I don't know. Slight differences. I'm curious. I should make like a Twitter poll. I like the way that y'all wrote it down. Data or date. Oh, I don't know how the other way of saying data. Data or data. Data. Oh, data or data. Yeah. Good point. Perfect. So the next thing that we're going to do, data or data. I always say data for sure. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab, and I've already downloaded this. Cool. So there's this CSV file with a bunch of credit card data. I got it from all of you. Just kidding. Let me give you the link to this, and this will be linked at the end. I'll show you where to access all of this stuff as well. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I could go on. Varchar. Ooh, varchar. Ooh, that's a good one because it is variable character. Varchar. Oh gosh. Okay. What is this stream turning into? So we can download the CSV file from here. So I just sent you all the link in the chat, like Care Bear. Yeah. Basically, this data is just a bunch of credit card data, and if I remember right, it is like the balance on each one. Now, oh gosh, I've been playing with too many data sets. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Where are you? There you are. What we're going to do is we're going to bring in data that's basically just a bunch of numerical data, and we're going to create a data set. So this is a local data set. You can see that it's not on my machine learning resource yet. It's not in online yet. This is taking too long to load. I can just show you here. It is not inside of here yet. It is only on my local machine. And so no, I'm not going to upload it. What I'm going to do is use the SDK for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create first from azureml.core, I'm going to import dataset. And my data is the one that's right here, right? Creditcard.csv. If you don't want to download this data, you can just plop that URL in as well, the one that I put in the chat. And if you're watching this after live, you'll have access to. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable that is going to reference my data set. I'm going to call this data set, and this is going to be from delimited files data. So it's just, I'm going to grab all the data and put it into this variable called data set. All right. Cool. If you wanted to, another way of doing this is using Pandas to create a data set locally. If you didn't need to put this data like up, right? Oops, what did I do wrong? Yeah, that's right. Sorry. If you're doing it locally, you need to do it locally with Pandas. We do need to actually grab it from the web because we're not, this one's expecting to create it from a URL. So I'm going to create it